Okay, picture this. It's the turn of the 20th century, and this guy, Guglielmo Marconi, is promising the world an absolute miracle: communication without any wires. I mean, he wasn't just selling a piece of tech, he was selling this dream of a clean, perfect, secret whisper stretching across entire oceans. But what if that whole dream was built on a foundation that was just fundamentally broken from the start? Let's get into it.
You know, back at the turn of the 20th century, Guglielmo Marconi was basically a modern-day wizard. He promised something that sounded like magic: communication without wires. And not just for convenience. He promised it would be a secure, private whisper from one machine to another. But here's the thing. The technology he sold to the world was born with some deep, fundamental flaws. And get this, they're flaws we never really fixed. Okay, let's get into it.
So, picture this. It's 1903. We're in London, at the super prestigious Royal Institution. All the scientific bigwigs are there, gathered for what's supposed to be a historic demonstration. They've come to see the future, a secure wireless message sent over 300 miles. You can just feel the excitement in the air, right? But before the show can even get started, something very weird happens.
So, here's the scene. We're at the super prestigious Royal Institution in London. Marconi's right-hand man, Professor John Ambrose Fleming, is about to receive a message from over 300 miles away. He's there to prove to all the big scientific minds of the day that long-distance, secure wireless is finally a reality. The whole room is leaning in, ready to see history being made. But then the machine on the table starts talking, all by itself. And it became pretty clear the future had other ideas.
It all started with this one word. Before the big show could even begin, this little Morse code printer on the stage just starts clicking away. An unauthorized message is coming through, spelling it out over and over again: rats. Somebody had just hacked the future.
But this thing just keeps on chattering away. After the limerick, it starts hammering out one word, again and again: rats. The audience is just baffled. Fleming? Oh, he was absolutely furious, later calling it scientific hooliganism. This was no accident. This was deliberate, a targeted attack.
So who's up on stage? It's Professor John Ambrose Fleming, a top-tier physicist and a consultant for Marconi. His whole job is to stand there and receive a secure, private message from Marconi himself, who's way over in Cornwall. This whole thing is supposed to be the grand finale, the proof that private, long-distance wireless is real. The stage is set for a major triumph.
His name was Neville Maskelyne. And get this, he was a stage magician, an illusionist. Turns out he was secretly working for the old-school wired telegraph companies. The very industry Marconi was threatening to make obsolete. Maskelyne just didn't buy Marconi's whole Sintony sales pitch. So he set up his own powerful transmitter nearby, cranked it way up, and just drowned out the official signal. He didn't have to cleverly pick the lock. He basically just kicked the door in. He proved Marconi's system wasn't a private whisper. It was a public shout that anyone with a big enough microphone could listen to or shout right over.
Suddenly, the Morse code printer on stage, the one that's supposed to receive this amazing message, it just starts clicking all by itself. And it's not random. It's tapping out this mocking little limerick, letter by letter, for everyone to see. Yeah, someone literally hacked the future before it even officially started.
Marconi claimed his messages were totally private because of a technology he called Sintony, which is just a fancy word for tuning, and the analogy he used to sell it was brilliant. He'd say, imagine a room full of musical tuning forks. If you strike a C-sharp fork, only the other C-sharp forks in the room will vibrate. His wireless system, he promised, worked exactly the same way. Only a receiver tuned to the precise frequency could ever pick up the message. It was supposed to be the perfect lock and key.
Okay, to really get why this was such a huge deal, you gotta understand what Marconi was promising everybody. I mean, before him, if you wanted to talk across an ocean, you had to lay thousands of miles of incredibly heavy, armored cable on the seafloor. Marconi came along and said, we can do all that with invisible waves.
We will move on to the next section shortly, and we've still got a lot to cover, but now let's take a break to discuss something. Thanks.
Getting into crypto can feel, pretty complicated. Let's make it easy.
You know that feeling? The endless paperwork and waiting just for a little Bitcoin? So frustrating.
But what if it was as simple as ordering a pizza? Let me introduce you to Payis.
This is a secure, global platform that makes buying crypto incredibly straightforward.
And when I say global, I mean it. They're available in over 180 countries.
And check this out, over 500,000 downloads. People clearly trust it.
The reviews really speak for themselves. Almost perfect scores across the board.
So what's the secret sauce? It's fast, super secure, and the support is always there for you. Basically, they use top-notch security to keep your info and your money completely safe.
Okay, so how easy is it really? Let's walk through the actual steps. It's literally 3 simple steps. Pick your amount, add your wallet, and pay. Done.
Plus, you can pay however you want. Credit card, Apple Pay, they've got you covered. Oh, and here's a really cool part for anyone just getting started.
That's right, your first transaction has 0 Payis fees. It's a great way to just try it out.
So are you ready to finally jump into crypto without all the usual headaches?
Awesome! Just download the Payis app and start your crypto journey safely and simply. And this right here, this just says it all. On the left, that's the plan, this massive, beautifully engineered conical antenna system. But whoops, storms came and destroyed it. So on the right, that's what he actually used. A fan of wires just hastily thrown up between 2 masts that were still standing. I mean, come on, that's not a finely tuned instrument. It was a desperate Hail Mary to just blast a signal across the ocean, hoping, praying that something would get through.
Yeah, a lot of scientists back then and even today have some pretty serious doubts he heard anything at all. For one, the spark rate from his transmitter would have just made these simple clicks almost impossible to tell apart from regular atmospheric noise, static. Plus, he was using an untuned receiver with a detector that was known to be totally unreliable. In fact, for him to have actually heard that signal, his receiver would have needed to be impossibly sensitive. We're talking thousands of times more sensitive than much better models that came out just a year later.
So this brute force approach, this whole idea of prioritizing raw power over precision, that's what brings us right back to that lecture hall in London in 1903. That 1901 experiment let Marconi kind of sweep the deep, fundamental flaws in his system under the rug. But now, those flaws were about to get a very public airing, thanks to a very unlikely character.
So, first things first, was this thing really secure? And the answer, thanks to our hacker, was a big, fat no. And the guy who did it was a pretty interesting character himself.
The voice behind that RATS message, it belonged to a man named Neville Maskelyne. Now, this guy was a famous stage illusionist, but he was also a serious inventor who'd been messing around with wireless for his mind-reading acts. But here's the kicker. He was secretly working for the Eastern Telegraph Company, the giants of the old cable industry. They saw Marconi as this huge existential threat and basically hired Maskelyne to find a chink in his armor.
And boy, did he find more than a chink. He exposed what you could call the original sin of all wireless technology. First, a wireless signal is a broadcast. It's a shout in a crowded room, not a private letter. Second, that whole tuning thing, it was basically a lie. To make sure the signal was received from far away, the receiver was listening across a huge range of frequencies. Third, and this one is just stunning, there was no encryption. The messages were just in plain old Morse code. And finally, Marconi's system was built with no threat model. He solved the physics problem of getting a signal from A to B, but he never once considered that an adversary, C, might be trying to mess with it.
Okay, and this is the crucial point. This wasn't just a simple design choice he made. It was a fundamental flaw in the type of technology Marconi chose. Think of it like this. Marconi's alternating current waves were like a light bulb, radiating weak heat and light in every direction. Super inefficient. The other path, the one championed by Nikola Tesla, was more like a laser beam. These potent, directed electrical rays. Marconi chose the brute force light bulb, and because of that, it was plagued by interference from day one.
And Tesla, oh, he was well aware of this. He famously said of Marconi's work, "Marconi is a good fellow. Let him continue. He is using 17 of my patents." And what do you know? Years later, the US Supreme Court actually overturned Marconi's main radio patent and gave it to Tesla, admitting Tesla got there first.
All right, so security was a bust. But what about reliability? Was it at least dependable? Well, this takes us to Marconi's biggest claim to fame, that supposed first-ever transatlantic signal back in 1901. This was the story that made him famous, but turns out that story is also full of holes.
To put a number on just how inefficient Marconi's system really was, get this. The signals his tech generated, these waves that just ripple out everywhere, they were so incredibly weak that the energy actually arriving at the receiver was often just a billionth of a watt. A billionth! It is an absolute miracle the system worked at all, and it only did by using these gigantic antennas and just stupendous amounts of power at the source.
I mean, you have to appreciate the sheer scale of what Marconi was trying to do. It was bonkers. He built these absolutely gargantuan antenna systems on both sides of the Atlantic. It was a total brute force solution. But here's the problem. They were so ridiculously huge and badly built that they both collapsed in storms before he could even run the big experiment. The antenna he ended up using was just a last-minute, flimsy replacement.
So, Marconi's system was fundamentally insecure and massively inefficient. You think it would have been dismissed, right? Dead in the water? Not a chance. The world needed wireless, flaws and all. And so began a century of patches. We couldn't fix the core problem, so we just started building these clever workarounds right on top of it.
And it wasn't just the antennas. The scientific community had some major doubts about the whole thing. That signal he supposedly heard, those 3 little clicks for the letter S, could have just been static in the air. And this is the kicker. He had to use an untuned receiver, which completely goes against his whole Sintony idea. The detector was notoriously unreliable, and for it to have even worked, his little setup on a kite in Newfoundland would have needed to be almost 100 times more sensitive than the best receivers on ships at the time. A lot of scientists then and now find that pretty unlikely.
The entire history of wireless security has basically been one long reaction to the vulnerabilities that Neville Maskelyne exposed. First, we dealt with the public shout problem by inventing encryption. Think of Germany's Enigma machine in World War II. The message was still broadcast for everyone to hear, but now it was in a secret language. Then, to fight against jamming, we developed frequency hopping, basically breaking the message into tiny pieces and shouting each piece on a different channel thousands of times a second in a secret pattern only the receiver knows.
Okay, so it's not secure. Its reliability is a huge question mark. But come on, at least he invented radio, right? Well, about that.
And guess what?
We will move on to the next section shortly, and we've still got a lot to cover, but now let's take a break to discuss something. Thanks.
So, you want to grow on YouTube? Let's talk about the new AI toolkit that's changing everything. You know that feeling, right? You pour your heart into a video and get literally 0 views? But what if you could get an unfair advantage, a way to work smarter, not just harder? It's a simple workflow: idea, script, video. But now AI is supercharging every single step. It all starts with the idea, and honestly, this is where most creators fail. vidIQ helps you find those golden keywords, topics with high search volume but low competition. It'll also audit your channel, feed you daily ideas, and even spy on your competition. And yeah, it's not some secret. Over 20 million creators are already using this strategy. Okay, you've got a killer idea. Now what? You've got to write a script. Well, that's where TubeMagic comes in. It's an AI that literally writes viral scripts for you. It can match your voice, use the latest AI models, and even learn from other successful videos. And creators are loving it. They've already generated over 200,000 scripts with it. All right, idea, check. Script, check. Now for the hard part, actually making the video. Or maybe not so hard. Vid.ai takes that script and turns it into a finished video. And I mean everything: the voiceover, the visuals, the background music, even the captions. The best part? You don't need a camera. You don't even need to know how to edit. So you see how this all connects? It's not just 3 tools. It's a complete ecosystem. They do all the boring work so you can just focus on being creative. So you go from vidIQ for strategy, to TubeMagic for the script, to vid.ai for the video. It really makes you wonder, with tools this powerful, what's next for content creation?
The fight over who really invented radio? Oh, that's a whole drama played out in the patent office. Years before Marconi, Nikola Tesla was already demonstrating wireless tech and filing the first patents for it. In fact, the US Patent Office originally rejected Marconi's application because of Tesla's work. But then, in 1904, they just changed their minds and gave the patent to Marconi. It wasn't until 1943 that the US Supreme Court finally corrected the record and gave the credit back to Tesla. I love this quote from Tesla, who once said, "Marconi is a good fellow. Let him continue. He is using 17 of my patents." Ouch. We are still using these exact same ideas today. Your home Wi-Fi router? It's just shouting your data into the air. When you set a password, that's just a modern patch. It's an encryption key that wraps your data in a digital envelope, trying its best to contain that public shout. But those old flaws, they're still here.
Civilian GPS signals, for example, are unencrypted and unauthenticated. There's no caller ID. That means a modern-day Maskelyne with a powerful transmitter can just broadcast a fake, stronger signal and trick a ship or a plane or even your car into thinking it's somewhere completely different. That's called GPS spoofing, and it's a direct descendant of the original flaw. Even your car key has to deal with this legacy. The first key fobs just sent a single, fixed code that a thief could record and play back later to open your car. The patch? Rolling codes. It's a cryptographic fix where your key fob sends a brand new, unpredictable code every single time you press the button. It's just another clever patch for that age-old problem of shouting a secret in public.
And this brings us to the real heart of the matter. The biggest question of all. Forget who invented it. Forget the security. Was the actual technology he chose just wrong from the get-go?
From jamming drones on the battlefield to hacking into Bluetooth headsets, the story's always the same. We invent some new way to communicate wirelessly, the modern Maskelynes show up to prove how it's broken, and then we invent a new patch to cover the hole. It's this never-ending cycle, all built on that same compromised foundation from over a century ago.
This is where the road splits, a huge choice in the history of technology. Marconi bet everything on using continuous alternating current, or AC, waves. But this method is inherently inefficient and lossy. Think of it like trying to send a message across a lake by just making gentle ripples in a pond. They're weak, they fade, it's just not very good. Tesla, on the other hand, envisioned impulse radio, short, powerful bursts. Marconi chose the weaker, more power-hungry path. And that choice created a flawed foundation that would need 100 years of patches just to work right.
So what Neville Maskelyne pulled off in 1903 wasn't just a prank, it was a prophecy. He showed us the ghost in the machine, the baked-in insecurity of sending secrets through an open medium. We have spent over 100 years building this immense fortress of patches around Marconi's original, flawed system, but we never fixed the flaw itself. We can't. Because the flaw isn't in the engineering, it's in the physics.
The legacy of that day is literally woven into your Wi-Fi password, your car key, the encrypted data on your phone. Every single one of them is an admission that wireless security isn't some state we can just achieve. It's a constant, unending battle. That shout in the crowded room is still a shout. And that leaves us with a really critical question to think about. If our entire connected world is built on just managing this fundamental weakness, what's the next patch we're going to need? And what happens when it fails?
Just think about your Wi-Fi at home. The original flaw, the one Maskelyne exposed, is that a wireless signal is a public broadcast. The modern threat is somebody sitting in a car outside your house stealing your credit card info. And our modern patch, it's encryption. Your WPA3 password is just a way to wrap that public shout in a secret digital language that only your devices can understand.
Or how about GPS? The original system had no way of knowing who was sending the message, Marconi or Maskelyne. The modern version of that threat is called GPS spoofing, where an attacker sends fake signals to trick a ship into going off course. The military has a patch for this, of course, encryption. But for the rest of us, our civilian GPS signals are still wide open. It's the exact same problem from 1903 still haunting us today.
Even your car key tells this story. In an early version of the key fob, a thief could just record the signal from your key and play it back later to unlock your car. The patch we came up with is called rolling codes. Now, every time you press the button, your key sends a totally new, unpredictable code that can't be reused. It's a brilliant workaround for that age-old problem. How do you shout a secret in public without everyone knowing it?
Because here's the bottom line. The flaw is physics. When you send a radio signal using Marconi's method, it radiates out everywhere. It's a shout in a crowded room, not a whisper in someone's ear. And you just can't change that. All you can do is come up with really clever ways to make sure only the right person understands the shout.
So Maskelyne's hack, it wasn't just a prank, it was a prophecy. He showed us the ghost in the machine, that deep, inherent insecurity that comes with sending anything private through a public space. Every single Wi-Fi password we type, every encrypted app we use, is our modern attempt to deal with that very same ghost.
So think about it. Our entire modern connected world is built on a foundation that started out insecure, unreliable, and wildly inefficient. We just patched it over and over until it finally worked. And that really leaves us with a provocative question for our own time. As we're building whatever comes next, what fundamental flaws are we choosing to ignore right now, and what are the big, public shouts of our time that we're desperately trying to turn back into whispers?
Well, quite a story, right? If we're gonna do engineering to fix all this mess, we'll need to be doing tons of algebra. So the remaining part of the video will be devoted to exactly that.
Let's talk about something that holds back even the smartest people from really succeeding in fields like engineering, physics, you name it. It's not about how smart you are, and it's not about passion. It's a single, fundamental roadblock that most people just don't see coming. So why is that? Why does someone who can grasp these incredible, complex theories in electronics or advanced mechanics suddenly hit a wall? What is this invisible barrier that just stops so many talented people right in their tracks? Well, this quote from a veteran engineer just hits the nail on the head. All of that incredibly advanced, mind-bending stuff, it's all built on the algebra you learned in high school. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. You can't just kind of know it. You have to really know it, inside and out. And that brings us to the main point here. The foundation isn't just important, it's everything. It's the bedrock that every single advanced skill is built upon. Let's break down why this is so unbelievably critical. Okay, so before you can even think about manipulating something like derivatives in calculus, you have to be an absolute wizard at shuffling equations around. And that's pure algebra, right? Or what about mastering imaginary units for electrical engineering? They're not just some weird abstract idea, they're a vital tool. And using them, yep, that depends entirely on how solid your algebra is. And then you've got vectors and polynomials in physics. That's the language of the field. Trying to work with them without a fluent command of algebra it's like trying to write a masterpiece novel when you don't even know the alphabet. So the bottom line is this. You need an absolutely unshakable foundation. When you're wrestling with some big, hairy, complex problem, the very last thing you want to be worried about is whether you made a simple algebra mistake. That right there, that is the hurdle. So if a shaky foundation is the real problem, what's the solution? Well, this is where a tool built specifically for this comes in. And today, we're going to look at one called Algeprime because it's designed to fix this exact problem. So what is Algeprime exactly? Think of it as a super comprehensive, high-end video series that's all about one thing, building your algebra foundation from the ground up so it's rock solid. It's not just a review, it's a complete rebuild. But here's the thing, Algeprime isn't just a bunch of videos. It's a whole structured system, a method designed to get you to true mastery. Let's take a look at how the Algeprime method actually works. The Algeprime method really rests on these 4 pillars. First, it's guided learning. It's a journey where every single step logically builds on the last. Second, it's all about practical relevance, so you actually see how this stuff shapes the real world. Third, the explanations are amazing. They just break everything down into simple, digestible steps. And finally, you can track your progress with these cool interactive checkpoints, which really helps you stay on track. And like I said, this isn't just about watching videos. Algeprime gives you a complete toolkit, everything you need to actually succeed. So what's in the box? With Algeprime, you get interactive problem sets and quizzes to really sharpen your skills. You get downloadable reference materials, you get access to a community for support, and you get unlimited access to all 150 episodes. And you can watch them anywhere, on your phone, on your desktop, wherever. But on top of all those features, the people behind Algeprime do something that really shows how much they believe in their program. It comes down to this number, 60. It's a 60-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. I mean, that means there is literally zero risk for you. You can try Algeprime, go through everything, and if it's not what you need, you get a full refund. It's really that simple. Okay, so if you're feeling like, yeah, this is me, my foundation needs work, Algeprime has a few different ways you can get started. Let's look at the learning paths you can choose. You've got a few options here. The weekly plan is awesome if you just want to dip your toes in and see what Algeprime is all about. If you're ready to commit a bit more, the intro or intermediate packs are great. And for those who are all in on total mastery, the full series gives you everything. It's really just about what works for your goals and, your budget. Look, the advanced stuff is the fun part. I get it. But it's mastering the fundamentals that really unlocks your potential. So please, don't let this one single hurdle hold you back from the future you want. You can fix this. The first step is super easy. Just head over to algeprime.com to check it out for yourself. That's ALGEPRIME.com. See if Algeprime is the tool you need to finally build that foundation for good.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video. If you want more content like this, there is a playlist that should be popping up right now. Stay tuned for more. I've also made this free video for you with solutions for creativity, financial strength, and online security. I hope you'll enjoy this offer as well as all the others featured on my channel. And that concludes this video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Hermalau Tube. My name is Konstantin, reminding you that your interest is the current that powers this channel.